Hey, Lillie.
Hey!
Hey. Yeah.
It's always nice to be in a car in the city. I'm so used to seeing it street level from just walking everywhere.
Got you.
So it's always fun to like just drive down the streets and be like, oh, that's what it looks like when you're in the middle of the road.
Yeah. Are you originally from here?
No. I'm from North Carolina originally.
Okay, North Carolina. Are you from like Charlotte?
I'm from the boring middle part where there's like nothing.
Oh, okay.
And then about an hour east of Charlotte. So
got it.
You know, not like crazy rural. I mean, like we had a Chick-fil-A.
One.
It was a new. I remember when we got the Chick-fil-A, because like we had been like a pretty smallish town. It's like not like really like middle of nowhere.
Gotcha.
But
it's
definitely a small town.
It's up and coming.
Kind of up and coming a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
So I remember when like this whole new shopping center was built, and like we got a TJ Maxx, and we got a Marshalls, and we got a Chick-fil-A.
See,
now we're getting a Starbucks, so we're really becoming significant.
See, and that's when you know it's becoming significant, when these places are being introduced to you guys slowly. Like, hey, slowly. We're trying to push you into the 21st century.
Yes, they're dragging us behind.
So, what brings you out here?
So, when I was a senior in high school, I was looking at different colleges and what I wanted to do next. And I knew I wanted to like study acting, musical theater, so I applied to all these different places, and a majority of them I did not get in, which was fine because I was like, it made my choice easy. Yeah. The place I got into was a conservatory up here called the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, and that was the only place I got in that I really respected, because I was like, I want to go somewhere that specializes in like the arts and is like going to be able to make connections. And I kind of knew that if I didn't move to New York, like in college where like I knew I'd have a little safe space in a bubble, it would be like impossible to do as an adult. Yeah. At least I felt personally for me, like the way I operate. Yeah. So I was like, it's now or never, you know. It was. So
wait, you took the chance? You just came here?
I had never even been here. When I came here, I didn't tour it. I didn't do anything.
You didn't.
I came here and I was moved into my dorm.
That is essentially let God take the wheel. Personified. Really, it was crazy because like my family didn't have a lot of money. My parents had never been in an airplane before. Wow. Like we weren't like dirt broke. We like had a nice time, but it's like that's not the world we knew. You guys were middle class in that space. Middle class in that area, and it's also like you have to account for the fact that like up here the minimum income and down there the minimum income is so different. So they come up here and it's even more expensive to them because they make less. Yeah. That's like, okay, we're doing pretty good. I mean, they also had me really young, so they're like most people my age parents, because I'm 21. Most people my age parents are like in their 50s, some in their 60s, or like late 40s. My parents are like early 40s, and they had me when they were like my age. I do see that often in like other places that they start later. While here in the rural cities, you'll encounter 20 already having 2 kids, and nothing better to do. And I know that's like an anomaly, but I would assume, being that a smaller space, being that you guys had nothing to do, that would be the case. Yeah. But it's often here.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty of people who, and it's the median age. I have a friend whose parents are like, her parents are like in their 70s because they like adopted her when they were in their 50s. Wow. So it's crazy because it's like her parents are my grandparents' age.
Yeah. See, I never wanted to be that old parent, and I made sure of it. I have a 4-year-old. Oh. Yes, I have a 4-year-old son, and he is the world. He is the world. He is the world to me. He made my world so much huger. Yeah, and I love that about being a parent. So but I do understand how other people, you know, they take their time and they decide that their career and money is more important than raising a family.
I mean, I know for me, I'd like to just have my 20s to like live and grow as a person, and then, because it's not even like, oh, money, career comes first. I mean, it kind of is, because like I want to be an artist, and you have to invest your time, a lot of energy, you have to make connections. So what do you do in the meantime? Hang out with my boyfriend, live my life, try to learn how to roller skate.
So you're substituting your childhood now.
Kinda.
I mean, that's what you should be.
It's been like rediscovering it for me because it's like, I don't know, it's been a weird past 3 years for me because 2020, I was a senior in high school when COVID happened.
Wow.
So I had like my spring play lined up and all this amazing stuff. And
did that happen?
The spring play never happened.
Oh,
I mean,
damn.
It was March, so it's like everything was canceled.
So you didn't even get to exude your actual talent.
No, my graduation was a drive-through graduation.
A drive-through graduation.
We would drive through, get out of the car, and you get your diploma. It was literally insane.
That's
literally insane. But I mean, that's what it was. It was like nobody. This was happening for the first time to everyone. So it's like, you know, it was a completely different time, and it's been weird ever since. Except like now, I feel like this past year's been a lot more normal, and normal is you know, subjective.
Yeah, subjective. Because this is the new normal.
This is the new normal.
Yeah. So my question to you, right? What do you do for work?
For work, so I work as a waitress, an actress working as a waitress. That's never been done before.
Wow.
So original.
That archetype has never been displayed before.
No, but it's fun. Because I did a 2-year conservatory program up here. So once I finished that conservatory program, I was like, well, I kind of have to be employed now because I mean, you know, rent's gonna keep coming. Got to start that grind. So I was looking for places that would hire me. A lot of places wouldn't. They weren't like, I was just not getting interviews. I wasn't getting matched with on Indeed. No one was picking me up because I didn't have New York serving experience. But I'd had about half a year at like a wing place back home, and it was terrible. I was in the trenches, so I figured out how to like be pretty good at my job quite quickly.
That's beautiful.
Objectively. So then, and this was before they were even open.
Yeah.
So they were kind of a little bit less picky about who they were picking.
Gotcha.
Or it made it easier for me to get in that door.
So
like I probably wouldn't have been hired now that they've established themselves, but before they were looking for people who were going to be committed and like be willing to do like 3 months of training with no tip pay.
Oh.
Because there was no customers yet.
Right.
So that's what I did. Like did summer boot camps, and they trained us. Like we did mock service every day for like the entire summer last year. That is like 2 straight months of training.
So there's a series on FX that highlights the food industry. It's called The Bear.
I have watched a little bit of The Bear.
So I think that's an eyeglass into what you guys actually experience. And although it's a phenomenal show, I was definitely looking at the harshness of the reality of it. Is that something that you can say that is reality?
I think it depends on every work environment's different. The stakes are different. Because I mean, The Bear is about like, you know, he has that fine dining experience. The main character, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The guy who's the bear. You know, he was in New York and he was in the fine dining scene, which I've seen some of, and it's like my chefs, none of them want to watch The Bear because they're like, that was my life. Why do I need to relive it?
Yes.
And you know, because I am front of house, so it's just a bit of a different world because we don't have to actually make the food. We deal with more like customer BS. And things that are
customer facing.
Absolutely insane. And chefs don't really deal with customers that much. But I mean, you know, it's a very traumatic workplace that they're in The Bear. And luckily, it Seeds and Weeds, I would say the vibes are generally pretty good.
Okay.
And that is what happens to a certain extent. You have to kiss up and just try to gain power little by little. Because it's so many people, especially when I look at the executives, and these people that are in charge of this like massive corporation for this chain. It's just like a pissing contest constantly. They're constantly fighting for their egos and trying to just gain a little bit, get somebody to give, and you have to like climb your way up. You have to kiss ass to the right people. It's not something I ever want to do, but it's like they work really long hours. They're like salaried. They sometimes do like 50, 60 hours a week. You know, they're in at like 7 a.m. And they're also
they're grinding
with customer things. They have to make a lot of decisions, and it's like, hey, if somebody wants just a side of this, can we do that? If someone wants an egg this way, and they have to
adhere to that.
They have to decide what to do, and it's a whole system. So I'd say the bear is definitely not like, it's not like, oh, this is fictional,
right.
completely made up, but that doesn't happen. No, it happens. It's really happening to somebody somewhere on this Saturday morning. It is happening.
Right. On this flying rock that we're on, it is definitely happening.
It is happening. Somewhere. Luckily, I have not experienced any of like that level of like anger or like yelling.
Yeah.
I would not want to be in an environment like that.
Right.
But I mean, I've seen it. A guy I knew at my former job back in North Carolina, when I was just like it was like at a wing joint, like a chain. So it's like, we don't have chefs, we had cooks.
Yeah.
And this one guy was like, I used to love cooking, and now I just hate it. And he was always so bitter. And he was like the epitome of like a Scrooge.
Oh,
gotcha. He was think of a Scrooge, and he was like,
was he older? Was he older?
Not too old. He was like 36. Now,
I mean, that's old in the wing spot.
18, I was like, he's ancient.
Right, at a wing spot though. That's old.
Kinda. I mean, most people there, there were some people like in their 50s, and it's like this guy was working this literally, like, it was just depressing to me because it was like this guy who had like 3 kids, and he was working a minimum wage job slinging wings while his kid, like, and he would have to deliver, he was a delivery guy for Domino's as well in the area, and like, that's what he did to sustain himself. And I'm like, that's
another thing I've noticed with, not even, let's say middle America. Middle America, you have to either, you can maintain your livelihood on your one job, or you'll have to double up because, let's say your expertise isn't as extensive as others may be in that in whatever industry. So you have to suffer and kind of accept minimum wage jobs, and you have to double up and get more than one job. And that's not something that people see long term in, but it's the reality. They get so caught in that hustle that they don't ever see themselves out of it. You're not getting caught in the rat race of trying to sustain yourself, are you?
I wouldn't say so. I'd say for a young woman who should really, I pretty much should be going into my senior year of college. So the fact that I'm surviving in my own on New York City.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, okay,
you're successful.
You're doing all right, kid. I mean,
you're successful.
So the good thing about serving in New York City is that it's, the fact that it's expensive to live here means people usually have more money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a double-sided coin. It's like, oh, tourists come in and they're shocked, but for the most part, I mean, it can be really good money. But the thing is that it varies. You have to adjust that. I mean, it's there's the game of serving where it's you can easily get caught in that rat race of that idea of oh, I'm going to jump from spot to spot to spot and make more money, or I'm going to jump from from here to here to here. Yeah. People work, they change jobs every 3 months, and I'm like, that's insane.
I feel like you have to cultivate your space.
You have to cultivate it.
Now, I am a jump from one job to the next type of guy, but also I don't know boundaries. So for me, I'll do 3 months of head down, do my work, do what I have to do. And after that 3 months span, I've already mastered that space. So for me, it's okay, what else is there? Because it's already routine to me now. So I understand what needs to be done. I can do it with my eyes closed. But not setting boundaries in these spaces, it can definitely have you burn out much quicker than others that come in day one and say, hey, I'm not going to deal with that. For the people that just head down and get the job done, you allow so much bad habits from others to build up, and at this point you can't even say anything
because you're in too deep.
Yeah, you're in too deep. At this point, it's who are you? I didn't hire this guy. So have you been able to carve out spaces for yourself?
I think.
Or are you just one of those servant style type of individual?
I mean, interesting way to phrase it, because it's never a way I've thought about it.
Oh, it's a request in so I do IT project management, and it's a request that you either have a specific style of management, because everyone has a boss. So the individuals above you, sometimes, obviously, it's few and far between, they would request, servant-style individuals who just listen and execute.
Just do what you're told to do.
That's it.
I mean, the nice thing about that is that you have your task.
Yeah.
And you get it done, and you can go home for the end of the day and leave it there.
Right.
And I'd say, I think if you have a problem with, if your boss is, a crappy person that doesn't respect you or extends beyond what you're being asked to, because my thing is, I want to be told clearly, what are the expectations of me so that I can make sure we're all happy and I can leave today feeling like I did a good job. Because I think it's so different when you work in the service industry versus when you work for a corporation or you work with other people who are working. Because when I go to work, most of the people in that space are people that I'm working for, as in they're guests, taking care of guests.
Yeah.
And then I have a boss and she has a boss and they have a boss. So it's a bit of duality of this corporate crap that we have to deal with. And it's the guy on top doesn't understand anything about what he's asking from the people that are on the ground level.
No.
And that annoys me because I'm we shouldn't have to change everything when the big boss comes around. We should be doing it the right way.
Right.
But it's also that he's not, or whoever that boss person is does not understand what they're asking and just wants to be in charge and is looking for an end result, but they don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Often I've only done this in theory, never in actual functional doing. So, for individuals that go to school, they'll go and get their MBA, and then shoot up the ranks because sometimes it's just who you know, and get a job running a space. They've never had to cook or be in an actual service style space. So a lot of times you're right. They'll ask you for things and you're like, you could never. You could never. So how are you asking me for that?
It's you don't actually understand.
You don't even understand what you're asking me. You don't understand what you're asking me. Yeah, no. But no, let's go back to that a sentiment about having to cultivate your space.
So I would say for me, my personal experience with Seeds and Weeds has been the benefit of being a founding member is that I know I'm important.
Gotcha.
Which is a nice feeling. It's and sometimes and that feeling is important to me. It's do I feel like I matter here? There was recently an event at work where it's I had been told for so long, this was the thing that happened at night, as I had been told that you're supposed to be training, training and leading, and then I was also told things well, training doesn't end when they take off the training shirt. Training is still cultivating. It's we want you to continue being you and encourage others to have your work style. That was what literally things I'd been told, not in so many words necessarily, but it's I do things the correct way by the book. But I mean, I also work smart and hard, and everything I do makes sense.
Right.
And I was told oh, you should be training the people to do that. And then we have a new general manager that's come in and has completely turned everything upside down, which is crazy because it's I was trained we're supposed to be kind of a fancy restaurant-ish. Fancy-ish. It's fine dining casual.
Yeah, gotcha.
Is the vibe. It's you can walk in there in shorts and a shirt. It's no problem. Just understand the space that you're in. And it's we're not cheap and greasy food. And prices are going to be a little bit more expensive. And we want you to order a lot, but the food's really good. It's all really nutritious. It's fresh. Minimal processing. The food's really good. And I'm happy that I can say that about the place I work. Food is actually very good.
Yeah.
But the new GM basically, all the things that everyone else who's ever been in charge of me, which at this point I've been there for over a year.
Oh, good.
Different bosses I've had.
Really?
So many.
They're just swapping them out.
They're not doing what they want.
Gotcha.
They have them leave. It's just turnover.
Yeah.
But it's little things when you take drinks to a guest, you should know who they're going to.
Yeah.
For instance, if you've ever been at a table in a restaurant and someone says, okay, who had the Aperol Spritz? Who had the 6 Point? Who had this beer? If they don't know who they're giving the drink to, that's called auctioning off a drink. If it happens with your food, it's auctioning off food.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't happen in a restaurant.
Right.
Now, if you're in Chili's, get your expectations down.
Right.
But in like a fine dining place like this, where we're charging what we charge for a plate, and like, the expectation is like this is supposed to be this kind of restaurant. We want this kind of clientele.
Yeah.
You have to maintain little things like that because they guest notice, whether they consciously memo it or not. You notice when it's like, oh, they just handed me my drink because they knew it was from me.
Right.
Little things.
Right.
It's like, what if we forget what we order?
See, when I've gone to like, lower level spaces, I have no problem saying to the waiter, like, hey, that's my plate.
Yeah.
Or that's mine. Because, they're looking around. They make it very clear, hey, I don't know what's going on. So they're often looking around. So when you go and you have that personalized experience to where the waiter or the waitress knows exactly that it's yours, that's a different experience.
Mm-hmm. And it's like I want to be. It's like if I'm going to be a server, I'm going to be a damn good server.
I understand that.
I want to be a part of a winning team.
I understand.
What's like that? And it's like having been there as long as I have, I've seen like I do my best to make sure like we grow as a team. Like I'm working in the kind of place I want to work at, and then it's just a conflict of interest between management. It's been a thing where I feel like I'm having to do management's job because they're not enforcing people to hold them to standards. Gotcha. It's like if you let other servers treat this place like we work in a Chili's or like the work we do here does not matter, people are going to come in and feel like they are in a Chili's. Absolutely.
And then they'll start acting
like
as if
they're in a Chili's. And it's the Chili's problem.
Yeah. And it's funny. Not to shit on any...
I mean, Chili's can be a great place.
I feel like some people feel like Chili's is a great place, though.
Chili's is great, but it's just remembering, like, the style of service. It's like the difference between going to, like, your kids, like, a college basketball game versus, like... the national basketball.
Wow.
Like, these are both good things. People are fans of both, and that's okay. One's just a little bit of like a bigger league than the other.
Gotcha.
And I feel like that's kind of like fine dining in New York City.
Yeah. See, and
New York City specifically.
So. I don't want you shitting on Chili's. That's all.
No, it's okay. It's also a New York thing. I feel like because here, when people see chain restaurants, they're a joke.
Yeah.
Back where I'm from, Outback Steakhouse is the nice restaurant.
Really?
It's a nice restaurant where I'm from. It's like. You go like a city over to like a slightly bigger city and slightly less dumpy spot. Yeah. You go to the Outback. Everything's usually pretty decent quality. The servers there like make good money. That's like a good. Where I'm from, that's like a good spot.
That is the fine dining experience.
Close. I mean, there is fine dining in Charlotte, but I'm like in the area I'm from. Yeah. That's as good as it's getting. People don't have money for fine dining.
Gotcha.
Where in my town, that's just not a thing that we have. Yeah. So like, you'd have to go to like the city and like. Do nice things. Like, it's fun. Yeah. But I would say in New York, definitely everything is like, we want local restaurants. We want this. I think people hate chains so much in New York. Like, every time I've been, because when I first moved here, I went to what was familiar. Yeah. So I'd go to, like, Outback. And I remember.
Oh, no, we don't do Outback.
No, there is one here, and I've been. Yeah. It was like my birthday. It was my favorite restaurant.
Oh, my God. So you were really stuck in the same. Idea.
I was like, oh, Outback is Outback. Where you go. And then I went to an Outback here, and my chef laughed at me. He thought I was insane. He's like, you actually went to Outback? And apparently everyone else in the world thinks that, because I went on a Sunday lunch, and the Outback was dead. It was empty. I was like, how is this place sustaining itself?
Honestly, no one knows.
No one knows.
No one knows.
I don't. I guess, I think it's mainly like a thing for tourists, like they're going to seek out what's familiar.
Yes. But... Because if you come from elsewhere, you're going to think Outback is Outback.
Yeah, they're going to do what I did and be like, Outback. I trust Outback. I know Outback. I'm in a place where everything's scary. All these restaurants are charging these prices, and I don't know what's in it.
And that's how they sustain. Because they thrive off of either familiarity, or they have people that look on menus.com and say, okay, what can I afford? And where can I go?
So Outback, you get steak for cheap. In the city, it's a good place to.
Right.
If you want something cheap.
Right. And then perception does a wonderful job of filling in the blanks. So, I have a question. You mentioned that you had a boyfriend. Did you guys meet here?
So my current boyfriend, yes. So yes, we met in the city.
Cool.
We met on Hinge.
Listen, at present day, I don't feel anyone is dating. I don't feel like you can walk up to someone and really get as far as you get by online dating.
I know plenty of people that are annoyed by that fact.
What?
But like it's not like as simple as like actually meeting somebody, sensing a vibe, and like I think people want that.
I wish. Now, I personally, if I see you and I'm like interested, I'll definitely approach you. But also, I'm from New York, so I have some type of cocky confidence to me because of being from New York, and that's how I was raised. To we would go to Harlem and 125th and hang out in that area, and literally just try to pursue women. That is all I did during my high school. Like on the weekend, me and my bros, we would go either Harlem or go to Brooklyn and hang out in like a really popular area and just try to see what the baddest.
You just went fishing, really.
Literally. And the best part of it is it would work because that's what we're so accustomed to here. Now, for other spaces, was that a standard?
No. So
okay.
Everything you just told me about in my mind, I'm like, that's insane.
No
so the
way.
way I've always like dated, really, because I mean, you have to remember that I have only been a real adult in the real world for 3 years.
Right.
And that's with like COVID 3 years.
Right.
So really, I'm kind of still 18 sometimes.
Yeah, you're a kid.
But I'm a baby. But like for me, the way I always like had crushes on people, it was always like at school. It was people where you were in situations where you met somebody in a friendly, either you met them at work or you met them at school. And you get a chance to. People still do that all the time, but you'd get to meet somebody like in an environment where there's no pressure to like pursue. And it's like, oh, I really like hanging out with you. Oh, we're getting a friendly relationship. Oh, I kind of have like a crush on you, and that's always been. The slow burn. The slow burn is always so much more.
I love slow burn.
Fun. Yeah. Now I love my boyfriend right now. That wasn't the thing that happened. Was that I went to a musical theater conservatory. Yeah. There were like 3 straight guys there, and all the women had already called dibs on me. Yeah, because they're the only guys. My options at school were quite slim pickings. Slim pickings. And then I'd been with one guy, and I'd been with 2 guys at school, but they were both garbage and they both sucked. Gotcha. I was just like, but also, you were a kid. So I was a kid, but I mean, they just sucked. Yeah, so your choices were kind of, Choices, I mean, it's also they're actors. They have massive egos. They're spoiled because they're the only guys in their class. Right. It's like they get the best songs or whatever musical theater stuff. But then I went on Hinge and I was like, I'm tired of being effing lonely because I had left a 3-year relationship in 2020. Yeah. Well, my high school boyfriend, I'd been with him, and it's like it's our friend group, and I was just like tired of him. Yeah. Other reasons, so I broke up with him, and I'd been single since, and just like I'd had my little hot girl summer era. Love it. And then I was in New York City, and I was like, there's gonna be a guy here. There has to be. Because I was also, in my hometown, it's a small pond. Yeah. There were not. No. Good pickings. I was like, here, like guys are going to be different, and they are. Massive options. Yeah. And I had a couple of Hinge like matches, and it just fell off. Didn't work. I never actually met any of them. There was one guy I was supposed to meet, and then like the day of the date, he like was ignoring my texts, and he ghosted me. He ghosted you. It was supposed to be the day of the date too. Gotcha. And he was just very confused, and I was like, "Are you stupid? Like, decide." That's a very New York response. You're fitting right in. Gosh. So me and my girlfriend, we're gonna upgrade that. Wait, we're gonna upgrade that to "Are you dumb?" Are you dumb? Yeah, that's more New York. Are you dumb? Yeah. Are you dumb? Stupid? Yeah. Yeah, that was very much "Are you dumb?" Yeah. So I met him on Hinge, and going into it, I was like, no, I'm not gonna have any expectations. It's probably not gonna work out, so I'm not gonna invest myself too much in this relationship because I was just tired of wasting my resources. And we hit it off and everything was going well. I mean, like, I liked what we talked on Snapchat, and we'd been talking and just texting, and it's like, I liked him, I wasn't like in love with anything because of what he said over text, but then we had agreed to go on our first date. I was super nervous. We went, because he lives in Queens and I live in Manhattan, so we were like, oh, we should go to like Astoria, which is like, on the map, on the map, it looks like the middle ground. It's impossible for both of us to get there.
It is very impossible.
It's impossible to get to.
You're better off walking.
Pretty much, I would have been. But that was the decision I made because I was like, I don't want him to come to my side of town because, just safety reasons.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
To know where I live.
Of course not.
And I was like, if we're on like uncharted territory for both of us, it'll be more of like a fair ground. So we made it this little Greek spot. He picked the restaurant. I'd never had Greek food before, so I was at a Greek restaurant for the first time, and he and I had kind of agreed in a little gentleman's agreement. I was like, I'm gonna get there a little